welcome to Unheard Stories. I am Loubna Hassanieh. Unheard Stories is a monthly event that is designed to bring our community together and shed light on the many journeys and legacies of success, creativity, and philanthropy. Our guest today is Her Excellency Ivonne A-Baki, Ambassador of Ecuador in Washington, D.C. Before we get started, I would like to take a few moments to recognize and welcome the dignitaries among us today. We have former Ambassador of Lebanon to Kuwait, His Excellency Jean Macaron. We have Councillor Mirna Khawli, former Consul General of Lebanon in LA. Councillor Wael Hashim, Chargé d'Affaires at the Embassy of Lebanon in Washington, D.C. Honorary Consul of Lebanon for the Greater Cleveland area, Mr. Anthony Asher, and Honorary Consul of Lebanon in Tahiti, Mr. Joseph Maroun. We are also honored to have Judge Tony Raphael join us today, all the way from Lebanon. Dr. Abdallah Nasruddin is also with us, our economic attaché at the Embassy of Lebanon in DC. Thank you for being here. I would like also to thank the French Alliance at the French Embassy in DC for sharing this event with the rest of the Francophone world, as well as the Embassy of Ecuador in DC and Daniel Jordi at ADS. Thank you so much. Well, welcome everyone. We as a human race have been around for quite some time. A recent excavation at a site in Jabal Irhoud in Morocco revealed human remains that go back over 300,000 years in time. That's how resilient we are. We've lived through natural catastrophes and we have survived pandemics. We have always demonstrated incredible resolve. Our ingenuity has been the catalyst for our survival. But that same ingenuity has equally brought us doom. And so we've raced to manufacture arms and we've waged wars. Wars have destroyed families and shattered communities. Many had to uproot and leave. I did 33 years ago. So did this young Lebanese man. After World War I had destroyed all hope he had in his country. With nothing left for him, he crossed continents and oceans and ended up in Ecuador. All he carried with him from his home country was his love of farming. He became one of the few farmers to plant bananas in the whole of Ecuador, then became the first producer to export Ecuadorian bananas to the world. They called him the King of Bananas, and his kingdom became as large as his native country, Lebanon. His name is Fouad Khwais, and my guest today is his daughter. Ambassador Ivonne A-Baki inherited her dad's determination and his commitment to excellence. Born in Guayaquil in Ecuador, she was raised among the vast banana plantations and grew up to appreciate nature and its peace and wilderness. She was 13 years old when her mother's yearning for the homeland took the whole family back to Lebanon. In Lebanon, she experienced firsthand the horrible events of the Lebanese Civil War and the many invasions by foreign powers. But she held on to the vision of peace and learned to appreciate life. She grew up knowing she had to make a difference. She became the voice in issues of paramount consequence to the very existence of humanity. She's not only the diplomatic ambassador, the minister, the president of parliament, she's also the voice of peace, a tireless advocate for the environment, the freedoms of people, for women's rights. She is a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. She's an inspiration to many, a role model. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my cousin, Ambassador Ivonne A-Baki. Welcome, Ambassador.
Habibti. You're going to make me cry, my dear Loubna. Thank you so much. And I want to tell about my sister who is also joining us. And she's the one that connected us again because I haven't seen Loubna for a long time. And we grew together in Lebanon. I mean, you took me back to so many years, Loubna. And it's sad to see that we went out of Lebanon because of the war and look how bad the situation is now in Lebanon. So really, I'm crying from inside about what's going on in my second country that I love so much, where my parents came from. So thank you for this wonderful introduction, Loubna.
Yeah, welcome. It's such an honor to have you on Unheard Stories. Thank you for being here. I watched you growing up. You were an inspiration to me and to many others. You personified women's spirit that's capable of miracles if set free. I admire you for that. You have a beautiful family, Ambassador A-Baki. You raised wonderful kids and grandkids. You married at a young age, but marriage did not stop you from fulfilling your dreams. You went from the world of arts to the world of diplomacy and negotiations, and later the world of politics. Now, as your career changed and developed, you found yourself growing with it and the process and focusing on different issues. Did you all along have an ultimate mission in life?
Well, I will not say it's a mission. It just, my life changed because of the war in Lebanon. And I would see people dying in front of me and I couldn't do anything. I mean, so that's why I started saying in my paintings what I couldn't say in words. And if you want to call it a mission, I think it will be for peace. It will be of how important, and it's like an obligation for women, not only a need, an obligation for women to do something for a peaceful world. And it's not just, peace is not just non-violence. I mean, it's beyond that. It's about living with freedom, with whatever you want to do as a human being. When we talk about taking care of the earth, for example, why do we say taking care of Mother Earth? It's because of the human, not because the earth is going to continue, where we are using it and abusing it so much, and it's going to continue. We, the human, are going to disappear if we continue abusing so much the Mother Earth. So it's all about that, you know, about less greed, less hate, less competition of being just for us as a human one.
Yes.
Instead of embracing more the others, helping each other. I think Lebanon would have been a better place if we care more about the other than about ourselves. The individualism, the ego, it's creating what we're having now. And on top of that all, it's about the success of Lebanese outside. Why do they succeed outside and not in their own country? It's because of that. Because when they go out, they realize that there is this kind of working in a teamwork, working together, not just about the religion. I'm from this religion, I have to be president. I'm from this religion, I have to be prime minister. So it's about every religion, it's taking over. And we're not seeing that what we need is unity for the well-being of the rest. Look how it's going on after so many years, and we are coming worse than before. Yes. So this is not a mission, it's beyond mission. It's an obligation for all of us.
Yes, and it's one of love and peace and tolerance. And that's a clear goal. You've had mentors in your life. They were exceptional people. They believed in your potential all along, and they helped you along the way. You said in your book that you were made what you are today by two men, your father who brought you up and your husband who taught you the art of life. Ambassador A-Baki, do you consider yourself lucky?
I will say I'm lucky, but it's not about luck. It's about work. Nothing comes in a silver tray. You have to work for what you want to get. You have to work for your passion, for what you believe. I used to say sometimes without sleeping for 3 days, just to show that being a mother and my obligations, my husband was in politics, and my home was like a hotel, open doors all day. And I wanted to study, and I wanted to do, and I didn't want to say that I am tired, because if I say that, they will tell me, my husband, everyone will say, why do you have to do all this? So I will stay without sleeping. And don't forget, as women, we have to be looking good at the same time. So everything has to be, and it's in a way, I was lucky to have the family I had, to have the parents I have, to have my mother that gave me the unconditional love, to make me believe in myself, my father who gave me the responsibility since I was very, very young, and my husband who believed so much in me that he thought I could be not only the president of Ecuador, but the world. Yeah. So he believed in me more than I believe in myself. And then I have this amazing family. So I'm lucky for that, but nothing comes easy. It's not about luck, it's about working. And, you know, this reminds me of a story, Loubna, sorry, but it's about, some people, for example, there's this man that they say that he wanted to win the lottery, that he was not lucky because he was not winning the lottery, and he was not winning the lottery. And he was cursing God because of not giving him the luck to win the lottery. So that night, when he was sleeping, God came in front of him and told him, my dear son, I want to make you win the lottery, but buy the ticket of the lottery at least.
Yeah.
So we want to have luck without doing an effort, without doing anything. And this is not fair.
No,
it's not luck.
True. I don't personally believe in luck. I'm a firm believer in cause and effect, like you just said. And what we put out there is what we get back. We put hard work and energy, we get success. It's that easy. You once said, and I'm quoting you, I feared no one. Do you think it is that attitude that made you or made all the difference in your life?
Yeah, I believe fear, there are two emotions, Habib, two emotions. In a human, it's only two emotions. Either you live in love or in fear. The majority of people, they live in fear. Fear of the past, fear of the future, not living the moment. It's if you live in love to yourself, you start loving yourself in order to love others, in order to give without judgment, accepting what others have. I think it's the lack of the missing part of the ingredient is about not having love. And that's why we live in fear. Fear of losing. Losing what? Look at this pandemic, what shows us. You can die in a second. What are we afraid of losing? Losing material? Losing what? So this is what we have to concentrate, that we need to have love inside of us. We have to live in love, believing in God, believing in everything that we have around us, being thankful every day that we are waking up and we have the light again. So it's about that. I also say that, I say the same thing. Fear is our worst enemy. We can't grow with fear. We cannot think clearly. And the worst kind of fear is fearing one another. That's how rulers control their masses, by instilling that kind of fear in the hearts and minds of many. That's true.
We
need leaders that go beyond fear. I mean, they put fear because they're insecure. That's why they only rule through fear. They cannot rule through love.
That's true. That's very true. You said in your book that Ecuador changed your father as much as he changed it. You lived in many countries yourself. You worked in those countries and you were engaged socially and politically. How did these countries change you? And what part of your character and heritage do you refuse to change?
I don't think that countries changed me. People, I always say, it doesn't matter where I live. They are all the same. All the countries are the same. The difference is only people, the ones that are with you. And they say that hell with the people you love is paradise, and paradise with the people that you don't like, it's hell. So it depends on the people. For me, it's everything about people. What I will never change. I mean, I love to embrace cultures. I lived in different places and I understand their cultures, and I put myself always in the place of the other to understand it more through the language, through the music, through food, through cultural feelings that you get from the richness of every culture. Yes. But this I could change. I could be flexible on living any place, it's okay with me. But the only thing I can't support, I can't stand is corruption. I cannot change values. You have to have, that's what my parents showed me and raised me with, values, ethics. Never succumb to that kind of greed and corruption. Always see the bigger picture. So this I will never change. For me, the most important thing is what you have inside of you with the values and respect for yourself, and then they will respect you.
Definitely. And I want to quote you here. You said in your book, intelligence lies in the ability to adapt, not in clashing with reality. At 3 years of age, you started ballet dancing. Years later, you shifted your focus to the paintbrush. You used that brush very smartly as a tool to express yourself. You put into images what many could not put into words, or probably didn't even dare put into words. You focused on women, and women in veils in particular, with the eyes being the only part of their body that's showing. What message were you trying to convey with that?
I think the eyes are the mirror of the soul. So for me, the feeling that I had when I painted that woman, as in the book, it's her. Even if you cover, you cannot cover the power and the strength of a woman. And her eyes show the pain that she passed because she had lost her son and daughter. I think, I don't know, remember when I was talking with this person in the mountains of Lebanon. And even with that, if you can see at her eyes, it's this look of resilience, of continuing, of having the passion to continue on and never give up. And the eyes show that. I mean, for me, the eyes are the most important part because it reflects what you are. That's why I cannot handle now being in just with the machine, connecting with machine, because for me, looking at the eye of a person when I'm negotiating, it's the body language, but the eyes are the ones that tell you the truth or not. And you can have trust or confidence or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a way of expressing yourself too.
Absolutely.
Freedom of expression is one of the most basic human rights. It is especially difficult for women in certain parts of the world to experience such freedom, even in the 21st century, which is heartbreaking. With your career today in politics and diplomacy, how freely do you get to express yourself?
For me, everything is about freedom.
Yes.
I used to be, before I entered into diplomacy, I used to be very impulsive. I will react with the actions. For example, I used to slap men a lot. Because if somebody will touch me wrongly or will say a word that I didn't like, I will slap. That was my way. That's how everybody remembers. I mean, Lebanon, they remember that very much about me. And it was even before, even in Ecuador, I was like that. When I was a child, I was reacting if I didn't like something. And I remember my husband once told me that because I was in a dinner and some man, I don't remember who it was, a very high position, was touching me under the table, and I got up and I slapped him. So he took me back and he said, Yvonne, you have to be less aggressive and more diplomatic. You can say it in words. So I learned the art of diplomacy. You can tell somebody to go to hell in such a way that he will be looking forward for the trip. So that showed me the way of using the right words, but always with my freedom. I will never shut up or change what I don't believe. I will say it, but we'll say it more diplomatic.
Okay, that's what life teaches us.
That's true.
Your love for nature or of nature has become your impetus to promote peace. And the women in your paintings we were talking about became your impetus to promote women's rights. You created the Harvard Arts for Peace Foundation. Can you tell us about that foundation? How did it come about? How did you get involved? And what inspired you to accomplish such a task?
This was a very important part of my life. I think I always say that there are few things that changed my life. The war in Lebanon, when I was running for president, visiting Ecuador in the remote places and seeing the poverty, the suffering of people. And also when I went to Harvard with a mission. That was in a way some kind of a mission, peace. Because my art was all about finding peace through art. So when I went to Harvard, and it was thanks to my son Faisal, because Faisal was the one that was studying at that time there, and he invited me to have an art exhibit of my paintings. And when I did that, they invited me to be the artist in residence. And I said, okay, what is being an artist in residence? They never had that before there. So it was about me giving me a studio where I painted, and I give class of art for students, graduate students. And at the same time, I could do whatever I want with the art. So I said, what about making an Arts for Peace Foundation? That was my dream. So they said, okay, started it. So we started. And guess who was the first art exhibit we had? And it was art for peace. It means you have to get countries, the art of a country, not only the visual arts, the music, the painting, the poetry, the gastronomy, and the political part. So the first exhibit we had was the Palestinian-Israeli art exhibit. And it was unbelievable because I wanted to unite them in order to see how art can change that. And I remember that I was taking the classes of Roger Fisher, Professor Fisher at that time at Harvard also. When I started the foundation, I was taking negotiations. And he will bring on real life, the negotiators, the Palestinians and Israelis. He, Roger Fisher and Herbert Kellman, they would bring them and we could see them. They will not see us, but we could see how they were negotiating. And they were sitting in front of each other and accusing each other, never getting to an end with that discussion. And there was no woman in that table of negotiations. Okay. But anyway, so this exhibition taught me something very important, that you can say through arts what you cannot say through politics and negotiations. So we had the arts exhibition, and there was a Palestinian artist who had the map of Palestine as an art exhibit. And the Israeli artist didn't want that. And he said, if this painting is hang on, I don't want to be in the exhibition because it's not Palestine, it's Israel. So I said, look, this is art. And in art, you can put what you feel without being it as a reality or something. And I will not put it down, because if I put that down, I have to put everything else down. So there was a fight, and at the end, they agreed, but everybody was upset, and they were in one side, the Israelis, one side, the Palestinian artists. So when we entered the salon where the music started, it was a band of music that were Palestinians and Israelis playing music together. And it was the food, which is the same, the music, which was the same, and that melted those anger. And they came, the artists, and they hugged each other and they kissed each other. So you can show that through art, you can go beyond problems of war and division and religion and anger. And so you can put the past at rest through the arts, through music, through understanding. It's the only universal, most silent, but most eloquent way of saying things is through art and music.
Yes, definitely. That's a good story. Thank you for sharing it. And you had once an exhibition at the International Monetary Fund, IMF. That was also exceptional there. What happened?
That was the first time I came. It was even before I was an artist in residence at Harvard. That was in the 80s. It was in 85 or 87 at the IMF, I think. It was the first time, 87. I moved to my children from Lebanon to the United States in 87. And it's because of the art exhibit at the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. They usually, in the IMF, they don't do a one-person exhibition. They do a group exhibition. At that time, it was the head of the IMF. It was a French, Michel Condessus. And I knew him. And the one that was heading the Arts Exhibit Center at the IMF, it was called the Visitor Center, it was Yves Gis, a very good friend. He became one of my best friends ever, Yves Gis. He just passed away recently. So he said, but Yvonne, we cannot have a one-person exhibition. At that time, Abdallah Abu Habib, who was my professor in Lebanon, my teacher, he was the ambassador of Lebanon to the United States. And I was coming as an artist, as Lebanese artist, doing this exhibition. It was called Women of the Orient and the Challenge.
Okay.
So he convinced them, and me, we knew Yves Gis and he knew Yves Gis. So we convinced that I will have a solo show of this art exhibit. And I told them I have as many paintings as you need. And so it was such an amazing exhibition that everybody was there. We had, at that time, George Bush's father was the vice president. Reagan was the president. That's when I met Reagan for the first time. And it was a great experience. My father was very sick and passed away during my exhibition when I was having that exhibition in 87. And Reagan, when I first met him, he resembled so much my father, so much that I was so impressed that I wanted to take a hair of his hair just to have him as a memory. But anyway, we became very good friends with the Bush family after that exhibition. And in fact, that changed my life too, because I came to the United States after that, and I stayed here, and I brought my family here Since 87, we were in Washington.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you recognize the painting behind me. Do you?
I cannot see. Yes, I'm seeing it. I don't see you very well. I don't know why. Which painting is that?
It's one of the Hamawis, original.
Oh my God, he was my professor.
Yes, I know he was.
He was my professor of painting. He passed away also.
Yeah, I've had it for years. Great art.
I loved Haidar Hamawi. He was such an amazing, another power force also.
Yes.
Believing in Lebanon, believing so much in Lebanon.
Yes. When you were the honorary consul of Ecuador in Boston, you had the chance to negotiate peace between two countries, Ecuador and Peru. And the two countries had a long-standing border dispute. We're talking about 200 years old dispute. First, what brought you to the negotiating table? And second, how did that experience impact your political journey?
Well, that's another fantastic question, because that's another thing that changed me into politics. I mean, I entered politics because of that. I was studying at the Kennedy School of Government. I was doing my master's in public administration and public policy, but I was majoring in negotiations still with Professor Fisher. So when I was doing that, he asked me to be part of the conflict management group. Mm-hmm. So I was part of it. And it happened that in 1995, I was having dinner at my home in Boston with the group, with Roger Fisher and all the conflict management group, celebrating something that we were doing something for the Middle East. I was only concentrating on peace in the Middle East. For me, it was peace in the Middle East. And we were talking about things, and the phone rings. It was around 9:30, 10 in the evening. The phone rings, and it was the president of Ecuador, Sixto Durán Ballén, in 1995. And he was calling me because he knew that I was at Harvard, and Professor Fisher, he knew about him because he was born in Boston. If President Durán Ballén was born in Boston, so he knew about him. So he tells me, Yvonne, we have a war started between Ecuador and Peru. And you are Ecuadorian, and you know Professor Fisher, and you're with him. Could you please tell him that we need him to come to Ecuador and find some ways to make peace with Peru? So I told him, Mr. President, there are no coincidences. I believe in cause and everything. It happens that Professor Fisher is here with me. So why don't you ask him directly? So I passed him the phone, and in 2 days, we were in Ecuador. All the group, not everyone of the conflict management group, but Professor Fisher with Steve Reifenberg and me, and his wife, Chris. We went, the four of us, or five, I don't know if Francisco Sanchez was also with us, but we went together to Ecuador. And what he did, Professor Fisher is the one that started these two groups from Ecuadorians and Peruvians to bring them in a retreat to Harvard for 10 days. So he chose 5 Ecuadorians and 5 Peruvians from all the different places, one artist, one politician, one military, one journalist, and one from the social background, social, I mean, and NGOs or social. So they chose with the 5 Ecuadorians, and then he went to Peru. Peru, for me, was the enemy, because I was raised in Ecuador, and the schools, they used to tell us that Peru took half of our land. We were 550,000 square kilometers, and we became 252,000 square kilometers because Peru took half of our land. I didn't know that in Peru, they were not taught that way, but we were taught that way. So Ecuador lost the Amazon sourcing, going out to the Amazon. So this was something that was always a fight. And we taught in school that Peru was our enemy. That's how we were raised. So when we came to Boston, the 5 Peruvians and 5 Ecuadorians, I was the only woman in the group. There were 5 Peruvians, fantastic people, also the same as Ecuador. And when we entered the room to start the negotiations, the preparation, we were not talking with each other. So what Professor Fisher did, Roger Fisher, he put a table that was semi-round table. So he made us sit, one Peruvian, one Ecuadorian, one Peruvian, one Ecuadorian, not in front of each other, but next to each other. And we will touch each other. I mean, we could. So he was sitting, I was sitting next to a Peruvian and the other side too. I mean, so he said, now that you are together, I want you to talk with your neighbor next to you, to your right person next to you, each one, and see why you are here and why you want peace. And then I want you to go, both of you, to each one in a room. So he took us, there were 5 rooms, each 2 in one room, to talk about each other and why we wanted peace and why we were there. And when we came back, he said, now the Peruvian will present the Ecuadorian that was with you, and the Ecuadorian will present the Peruvian. So the ice broke, and we started negotiating. I was in the place of the Peruvians, and they were in our place. Yeah. And at the end, what came out is that we wanted the same thing, but we were raised differently. So we started an amazing 10 days of negotiation, of talks that took us into what peace was later, of course, much later, and 3 years later, 1998, October 1998, 26th of October 1998, we signed a historic peace ending the last border dispute in the hemisphere.
That's great. That's great. Those negotiations went on for 3 years. They were intense, and you were the only woman member of the negotiating team, weren't you?
I was the only woman, and in fact, when we finished that, we started after 1995. It took 3 years, but we had to have. There were going to be elections after that. I mean, the peace was not done immediately. They had to have a president, and the president Jamil Mawad, a Lebanese. We had a Lebanese president, Jamil Mawad, and he was the one with whom we signed the peace negotiations in Brasilia. It was in Brazil. We have 5 countries that they were guarantors for Ecuador and Peru. It was the guarantors were the United States, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile. And the 2 countries, Ecuador and Peru, were the ones that were accepting what the result of those countries will give us for that dispute. So it was an intense negotiations, but the one that did the signing was the president of Ecuador with Fujimori, the president of Peru, and he was Lebanese. He is, I mean, he's still alive, and he is just a book came out about that.
Yes, and those negotiations led to you becoming the first.
Yes, that's why, exactly, ambassador. You know, Jamil Mawad. It happened that I knew him before because when I was in Boston, he was a mayor of Quito. And he came, and it's in the book, the story. He was in Spain, and he had a stroke. When he was in Spain as a group of mayors visit, he had a stroke. So he had to have an operation, but the only doctor that will cure him without an operation lived in Boston. And it was very difficult to get to him. So they called me, his brother called me, and we got an appointment with that doctor. And when he arrived, he had to stay for 6 months in Boston. And the doctor said that he didn't, no operation, but he had to be surrounded with people that will give him this kind of energy to move forward. And he was surrounded because he was also a Kennedy School student before. He knew Harvard. So all the teachers and professors and with Roger Fisher, we started meeting with him. And then the decision at the end was, we have to make him president. Yeah. He has to become the president in order to have peace between Ecuador and Peru. So that was the story. We became president. I helped very much in the campaign. I was part of the group in the campaign. And the first thing that I told Jamil to do was I told him, I will help you in anything I can, and I will be going back and forth. But the only thing I ask you is that the first thing you do is sign a peace between Ecuador and Peru. So in fact, he did. He became president. And the first thing he did was signing the Ecuador-Peru. So he nominated me to be ambassador in Washington. And I told him I will not come before I was accepted already. President Clinton was president. I got the agreement, the agreement, they call it, as ambassador. But I said, no, I will go when we sign.
Yes.
So we had a historic signing ceremony in Brazil. And the 6 presidents were there. The guarantor presidents, and of course the 2 countries. And after that, it was the 26th of October, 1998. And I came after 1 week. I was here in Washington after a few days. Yeah.
Yes.
That changed everything again. So I entered politics, diplomacy first, and then politics.
Yes. And then in 2002, you campaigned for your own.
That's another anecdote. It was that's another thing that I was here as ambassador, and I was not thinking of anything else. except doing what's good for the country. We were doing amazing things for Ecuador together with President Clinton first and with President Bush's son afterwards. I was here 2.5 years with President Clinton and 2.5 years with President Bush. And then a group of young people headed by Faisal. Faisal, my son, was living in Ecuador at that time. He graduated from Harvard, he was living there. And Mohammed was from Princeton and he was in Yale. So both of them were very close to me. And Tatiana was at Harvard also. But Tatiana came with me because she graduated and she came with me to Washington. And Faisal came and he said that he wanted to meet with me and talk to me something seriously. So I thought he was going to tell me that he was going to get married. Something else. But no, he said he was coming with a group of young that had created a party that a movement that they need a candidate woman outsider, and it was me. So I started laughing because I never lived in Ecuador. I left when I was 13 and I never came back except when we did the negotiations for peace, and nobody knew me at that time in Ecuador. So he said, no, that's what we want. That's what we want. And there were so many people coming. I didn't accept at the beginning, but then I knew I was not going to win. But I said, this will be an opportunity to know again my country of birth. And also, it was the best experience. Sometimes you win more by losing. And I won a lot by knowing Ecuador and the needs of Ecuador and what it was. It was an amazing experience to be candidate. And I knew I was not going to win, but I opened the doors also for women. And I think now we have amazing women in every place of political places, even in the Congress of Ecuador. We had one time 3 women heading the Congress, president, vice president, second vice president. Now we have an Amazonic woman as president of the Parliament of Ecuador, a woman from the Amazon. And it's incredible, the changes that have happened in short period of time in Ecuador regarding women.
Yes, you set the stage for that. That's great.
Well, it's not only me, but I mean, we have to start by defending women. I think sometimes the number one enemy of a woman is a woman.
Yes.
So we have to be secure about putting that we don't have to become men. We can stay as we are, feminine, and at the same time, this is our strength. Yes. So sometimes they think that woman has to be like men. No, it's the opposite completely. We have to work together with men, but being women.
Yes, definitely. In 2010, you chaired the Yasuni ITT initiative for the protection of Yasuni National Park. Can you tell us about that a little bit? First of all, where is Yasuni? And what made this project so unique and so dear to your heart?
It was when it was stopped, it was like losing a son or a daughter. Really, it was, first, it's in the Amazon of Ecuador. And the word Yasuni, it means sacred land in the indigenous, in Quechua. And this place is the size of Lebanon. It's 10,500 square kilometers. The size of Lebanon, and it has the highest biodiversity of flora and fauna of the world. And they say, but why this place in the whole Amazon, the Amazon of Brazil, which is bigger, the whole Amazon of the other countries, why is it that in this place, in the center of the world, in the universe, which is Ecuador in the center, why the Yasuni has this amazing place where never was touched by any disaster? Because being in Ecuador, a little higher than the rest of the Amazon, it's higher in land. I mean, when there was the icing thousands of years ago, the whole Amazon of the other countries became a savanna, except the Yasuni. It was untouched. All the trees are there from hundreds and hundreds of years. And the animals from the other parts of the Amazon, they ran to Yasuni because of the icing. So they came to the Yasuni. So that's where we have the highest biodiversity ever. But the curse of that magical place, we have oil underground. And it's the biggest amount of oil of Ecuador. Ecuador is still a developing country, and we depend on oil as our first source of income. Now it's getting better with shrimps and bananas and roses. It's getting more where we are less, number one, we are less dependent, but it's still, we need the oil. And at that time, the president decided to keep the oil in this so diverse place untouched. It should be because it should be untouched. Because if you open this fields of oil, you will destroy the very sensitive nature of it. So he announced it in the UN General Assembly. He announced that he's going to keep this place to help the world, because it belongs to the world. It's the lungs of the world. The Amazon is the lungs to the world. And he wanted the international community to help with half of what we will get if we take the oil out. So if we took the oil at that time, we thought we have around 1 billion barrels, after we knew that there was 5 billion. So if we leave this 1 billion barrels underground, we will get around $8-9 billion. We were asking for 3.5 billion. That was what we were asking. So he nominated me to be heading the project, to go around the world. So I went to the Amazon to see if I feel that I really can. I didn't know that place. So really, when I went there, I remember I went with the vice president at that time, who became president afterwards, Lenín Moreno. He was born there. So he took me there, and it was magical. I mean, we arrived at night because we couldn't arrive earlier. So I thought it was going to be dark. We cannot arrive because we have to go in a canoe. We cannot enter. We came by plane from Quito. It's like half an hour to arrive to the place Coca. And then we had to take a lunch. And then we had to go in a canoe, because even the sound of the motor will destroy the magical, the system. So we went in a canoe, and it was a moon. There was a moon. So the light was there. There was these animals that light, luciérnagas are called. There was the light around the very narrow canal that we're going. And then we arrived to this beautiful lake. And it was so magical. And the sound, there was a recording the next day of the sound of the music of what was going on. And it was like a classical music, the sound of the Amazon, of the jungle. So for me, it was so unique. I mean, I was thrilled of doing it. We convinced, we worked so hard to go to the world and to talk about what's being talked now. That was in the 2010. So the people were not just aware of how important climate change is and how important nature is and how important the Amazon is to the world. Mm-hmm. So it took a long time, but at the end, the president decided that it was the moment to take the oil out, and it was stopped. So I don't like to talk very much about that, because really it makes me feel so bad. We shouldn't have touched it. Even if we don't get the money, we shouldn't have touched it. We got a lot of money, but not enough to
restore planet Earth.
To explore.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing it. Ambassador, you've accomplished so much in life. It is impossible to cover everything you've done in 1 hour. You've served as Goodwill Ambassador for UNESCO, Ambassador of Ecuador in Qatar, and several other Arabic countries. Twice you were the Ambassador of Ecuador in D.C. You became the first woman minister in Ecuador. We didn't talk about that. And you've established several foundations, and you're a member of the board of directors of several entities. With such an exceptional portfolio, you say you still have a dream. What is that dream?
Peace in the Middle East.
Okay.
That's my dream. If we don't have peace in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine, we will not have peace in the world. And look what's going on now. What's going on in Afghanistan is so sad. I mean, it's just, you have Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Syria, now Lebanon, what's going on, it's horrible. And all the problems are still there, and still no peace between Palestine and Israel. So many people that they shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. Innocent people that have nothing to do with this egocentric kind of war of control for power, for money. It's all corruption, and it's all the same. So this dream that I thought was going to be a reality, I'm doubting. I hate to be saying that, because I'm always a very positive person, but I don't know if it's a dream.
You don't see an end.
I don't like to say that. I like to say that there is still a light at the end of the tunnel, but we have to have a wake-up call. And I don't know what kind of wake-up call more than that, more than what we had now. I mean, what more? What more? What are they waiting? What is it that they're waiting? I mean, I don't understand it. Yes. I just don't understand it. And the more I think about it, the more frustrated I become. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say, Loubna. Really, it's a non-ending kind of story that every time we say inshallah, inshallah, but this word is becoming without an end.
Yeah.
And I know the people of Lebanon are suffering and they want solution. So I beg those leaders, I don't call them leaders anymore. Because a leader is the one that really does something for the rest, not for themselves. This is the real leadership. But it's high time.
Yes, it definitely is. On the same subject, why is it that Arabs reach the highest offices in the land, the office of presidency? I think we have more than 11 presidents in Latin America of Arabic background. And why are they so marginalized in their own homelands and in their own countries? What's keeping them?
Because of opportunities, Loubna, because of opportunities. Imagine my children were born in Lebanon. They cannot be president or anything they want to dream. I mean, you don't have to be president, but because of being of a certain religion, you don't have the opportunity. You are born as a first, second, and third class citizen when you are in Lebanon, a Lebanese. But when you go out, you have the opportunities of anything. The sky is the limit. You don't have a limit. You can do whatever you want. And Lebanese are very bright, intelligent, and very hardworking people, but they are limited. And this thing of Lebanon has to change.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. Yes. Let the brightest be, let the best be, whatever they want, the freedom of choice, of opportunities,
yes,
of feeling that you are born with anything you want to dream to become.
Yes.
And you don't have that opportunities in Lebanon.
No.
That's why I took my children out of Lebanon. That's why I didn't want to stay there.
Yeah. Yeah. Let credentials talk. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Thank you for inspiring us today. Really, Your Excellency. Your mission is spreading awareness and showing the way to many. In a male-dominant society, what makes a woman stand out?
Not being so aware that she's a woman.
Yeah.
We forget that we are stronger. I'm not going to say brighter, but we are by far stronger. I mean, it's not the sexo débil, they call it in Spanish, the one that are fragile. Mm-hmm. A woman can do many things at the same time. She has the power to move, as my father used to say, with her right hand, her baby, and with the left hand, the world. She can move anything, but she has to be secure. And in a male-dominated, when they ask me what I have, I mean, I never see myself that I'm a woman. That's why I'm less. I am more because I'm a woman. The doors open because I'm a woman. Mm-hmm. And it's not the male-dominated if we want. It's the fault of women that they say that it's male. It's not. Who runs the house? Woman. What is the home? It's everything. Yeah. So it's our fault if we are dominated by men. It's our fault if we don't claim what we are.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not the male, it's a woman male. I mean, I know that there have been restrictions in the Arab world and in the Latin American world, everywhere there is the macho kind. But this has changed. Yeah. And we still continue saying that it's a male dominated. I don't think it's a male dominated. It is the moment to work together. I don't see myself as a woman working with a man. I see myself as a human being working with another exceptional human being too. I mean, all of us together. This is what we have to put in the mind. Not say we are the first woman to be this. We are the first one woman to. Why do you say the first man to be? Why do they say the first man?
Yes, exactly.
We have to change that mentality.
Yeah, yeah. Who's an empowering woman that you look up to?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we are all, I think all the women that are now heads of state, all the women that are doing amazing things. But if you can go back to history, you will go to so many in history. Cleopatra, I think in the past, women were stronger. They were ruling worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zenobia, Cleopatra.
Yeah.
If you take Jeanne d'Arc, I mean, all women in history, they were stronger. They were the Amazons of the Amazon. They were women.
Yes.
I mean, women were stronger in the past because they had their power. They believe in their inner power, and we lost it. I don't know how.
Yeah, it'll come back. It will come back with people like you. You have a greeting from Randazo from Tripoli, Lebanon. One from Joseph Doumit from the UK. Wissam Gharaizi from LA. Everyone is sending his appreciation. You have one from Sahar Hanna. She's saying she's very proud of you. She's here local in Los Angeles. We're going to take one from Joseph Doumit. Go ahead, Joseph.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Your Highness. How are you? Fine?
How are you doing? Great to see you. To hear you. I'm not seeing you very well. Okay.
I don't know why. Yeah. So, you make us proud, really.
Thank you, Joseph.
And our heart is like this because my question is since you are with your extensive experience and your relations internationally, maybe we can do something for Lebanon, or maybe all together here as we are now gathered through Dr. Loubna, and thanks to her. So maybe you can try to do something and use your influences, or we can do something all together to help Lebanon, because we are living outside of Lebanon, but our mind and heart is there,
Yeah, I know, absolutely, Joseph. Of course, I would like. I mean, I'm always ready to help. I've been doing what I can, but if we get together, we can do much more. And the Lebanese diaspora is incredible. I mean, the strength.
I believe that.
It's amazing. I mean, if we start doing that, maybe we can have you and Loubna start working on getting the people together. And I will invite you to come over to Washington. We can do it personally. Yeah, absolutely. We need to move and get together from the outside. The diaspora is the only solution for Lebanon.
True.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph. One last thing I like to mention here. Sadna Sharma is saying thank you to you. And she's saying, I have faith such dialogues will twinkle lights of hope that peace can be closer with combined effort. Thank you, Sadna. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for being here with us. It was such a pleasure and an honor. I can only imagine how busy your schedule is, so I'm not going to keep you any longer. Anything else you'd like to add before I wrap it up?
Just to thank you so much, Loubna. It was such a pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you for the audience. Thank you for all of you. And remember something, for me, Lebanon is in my heart. My parents and my husband are buried there, and I will do anything. If we get together, we can make a whole difference. So please count me in anything you want to help. You have a home here. Whenever you want to come to Washington, we can discuss that. And I'll appreciate Loubna to start moving this forward.
Sure, I will touch base with you. To everyone else in our audience, we are so grateful you joined us today. Please don't forget to connect with us again. Unheard Stories is a monthly event. It falls on the last Saturday of every month. Our next episode is scheduled for Saturday, September 25th, and my guest is another remarkable woman. Her name is Rola Dagher, Global Channel Chief at Dell Technologies. Prior to that, she led President of Cisco Canada for 3 years. Rola Dagher was recognized as one of the top 25 women of influence and as the Woman of the Year by Women in Communications and Technology, among many, many other recognitions. As a member of the Business Council of Canada and a member of the US-Canada Innovation Partnership, Dagher helps shape policy around the workforce and promotes the adoption and acceleration of emerging technologies, innovation, and research. Please try to attend next month, and the link will be left in the chat box for you. To watch past events and know about our future ones, you can follow me on social media. Thank you for bringing us into your home and making us part of your Saturday. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye حبيبتي. شكرا.